Frank Murphy is a 27-year-old Cork man who's secretary of the Blackrock Hurling Club. And in addition to carrying on the duties that position entails, he spends lots of time training and coaching the under-13s for juvenile leagues. So he's immensely popular with the young lads who gather in Blackrock's Church Road field. Now Frank's about to achieve the biggest ambition by refereeing an All Ireland Final. So it's a case of taking charge of a juvenile match one week and refereeing the hurling highlight of the year the next week before 60,000 people. Frank, how did you get involved in refereeing at the start?
Well, Mick, I started refereeing I think about 12 years ago in the Blackrock Parish Leagues here. I think I was interested in refereeing from the very beginning, and I always hoped that I would make it up to inter-county class, you know.
That 12 years ago made you about 15 at the time?
I was about 15, I think, and I started refereeing in the parish leagues here, yes.
Were you playing with Blackrock at the time? Did you play much hurling?
I didn't play very much hurling myself. I think refereeing was my main interest from the very beginning.
That's rather surprising, isn't it, for a juvenile of 15 that you should want to be a referee rather than a player?
I suppose it is, yes, Mick, but I think from the time I started I got tremendous encouragement from two men who have since gone to their eternal reward, the late Derry Cremin, who was chairman of the underage committee here, and the late Paul O'Donovan. They always gave me tremendous encouragement to pursue the refereeing, you know.
And what was there about refereeing at that early age that attracted you more than playing?
I don't really know. I think I just fancied the idea of being a referee, you know.
And now you're about to referee an All Ireland Final. Did that ever strike you in the beginning at all? Did you ever see this as an ambition?
I think it was an ambition from the beginning, Mick. I was always hopeful of making the top grade and of refereeing an All Ireland Final in Croke Park.
You were at school in Sullivan's Quay?
That's right, I was educated at Sullivan's Quay, and after graduating at UCC I was teaching there for 4 years before taking up a position of management with an educational company.
And you're on the administrative side, of course, of the Blackrock Club. You're secretary of the club. How deeply involved are you in administration?
Well, as you say, Mick, I am secretary of the club, and we have in the club 5 adult teams, and we field 11 underage teams. The underage section is tremendously well developed. We run parish leagues here for lads of 11, 13 and 15. This year we had 500 lads playing in these leagues.
This is a Blackrock at 500?
In Blackrock, within the 2 parishes of Blackrock and Ballinlough. We have a tremendously active committee both at senior level and at underage level. The underage committee had brought off a very good success recently in Thurles at the Fillin and Gale, where they won the All Ireland A grade competition for under 15s.
And how do you find being secretary of the club and refereeing matches on Sunday? And I presume you're looking after some section of the underage.
That's right.
Do you train some of them, you do?
I do. I have one of the under 13 teams, Carrickman, that I run myself here.
Well, do you find all these different interests, if you'd like to call them different interests, ever clash?
They do clash. Unfortunately, my ambition, as I mentioned to you, was to referee in Croke Park, and it just so happened that the first game I was appointed to referee in Croke Park, the Limerick and Tipperary playoff, it just so happened that our own club were playing a senior championship that day, and I had to withdraw from the Croke Park game, which was a bit disappointing to me at the time.
Well, since you mentioned that first Croke Park game, what was your first inter-county game to referee?
My first Munster Championship game was last year between Limerick and Clare. That was 1970 Championship. That was a draw game, and I refereed the replay of that also. And
so it's only in the last year, in fact, then, that you've become known as an inter-county referee?
This is the first year, in fact, that I have refereed at Central Council level. I refereed 5 National League games this year, including the semi-final and the final.
Yeah, and the final was here in Cork.
That was right, yes.
Was there a special pleasure when you heard the announcement that you'd been appointed to do the Munster final?
Oh, it was a tremendous honour for me. I was really pleased when I heard that I was to referee it. It was a harder game than the league final.
Was it? In what way?
I thought that the hurling was tougher and more uncompromising. At the same time, it was a very sporting game, I felt. But I think there was a little bit more bite in the Munster final than there was in the league final itself.
Well, of course, there was bound to be after Limerick winning 3 games in a row.
That's
true, bound to happen. Yes. And then the championship was always different from the league, anyhow.
That is very true, yes.
Mentioning more bite and tougher games, how do you feel about sportsmanship? Have you ever put off players at inter-county level?
Well, I had occasion last year, all right, in one particular game I refereed to send off 4 players.
4 in the one game?
That's right, yeah. But I think that sportsmanship in general at inter-county level is fairly good, is of a high standard.
You've never refereed football at all, Frank, have you?
Very little, Mick. I referee at junior level in Cork City, and I also referee both Cork College's and Munster College's football games, but I don't referee senior football matches at all.
Frank, would you like to see more get-togethers of referees, say, even if not coaching courses, seminars where you could meet referees from the other provinces?
I would indeed, Mick. Actually, it was only last week I was at the meeting of coaches in Gormanstown, and there were 2 other referees along with myself there, and it was the first time I had in fact met them, Mick Loftus of Mayo and Paul Kelly of Dublin. And I think that it's something that should in fact take place, that we should have these seminars. I would also feel that there is a need for coaching courses for referees at a national, provincial and at a county level.
Do you think that there are lots of things you could learn about interpretation and things like that?
It's always very interesting to hear the other man's side of the story, more or less, and I'm sure that you would pick up points that may have eluded you more or less up to then, you know.
Well, as you started refereeing, was there anyone in particular that you the way players sort of model themselves on star players, was there any referee that you particularly noticed as you were coming along?
Well, I think I did take particular notice of John Maloney as a referee from the time that he started. I think I remember him refereeing his first game in All Ireland under-21 semi-final, I think it was, in Cork, between Cork and Antrim, and I liked his style of refereeing.
You've refereed lots of Tipperary games this year, but how about Kilkenny?
Well, the only time that I refereed a Kilkenny game was a tournament game here in Cork between Cork and Kilkenny. That was the only occasion that I refereed a Kilkenny game.
Will you find it anyway strange that, changing from this week, this match that we've seen so much of here this morning with the under-13s, will you find it strange to go out and, referee a match with 60, 70,000 people watching you next Sunday?
Well, I always set out to do my best, irrespective of whether it would be a juvenile game or an inter-county game. And I think when I get out the next Sunday that I won't be taking notice of the crowd at all. I think a referee will have to be concentrating on the game, particularly with the 80 minutes now. I think it calls for a greater degree of concentration.
The referee for the minor final between Cork and Kilkenny is Mick Spain of Offaly. He's a native of Kilcormac and has become prominent as an inter-county referee in the last few years. Up to now, his biggest assignment has been the Railway Cup final between Leinster and Munster last St. Patrick's Day. Those are the referees, and we wish them the best of good luck for Sunday. Another man who has a role to play at the final is Most Reverend Dr. Morris, one of the patrons of the GAA. What does being at the hurling final mean to him?
To me, it's more of an Irish occasion than St. Patrick's Day itself. Here at home, we take St. Patrick a bit for granted, more than the people in other countries. But to me, the high point of Irishness, so to speak, is there in Croke Park on the day of the final. And I always have a great sense of occasion, I would say especially now since it began to be televised. One has the corresponding fear then that the match wouldn't live up to expectations, or that something untoward would happen during the match.
Well, therefore it's something extra special to you. It's not just another big match.
And no, every final has its own character. Well, sometimes one's own particular county is involved, and it's very rare that one attends a match that one doesn't get involved in one side or the other.
Well, what's it like for you up in the VIP section of the Hogan stand? Can you really enjoy the game there? Would you prefer to be lost away somewhere in the stand where you wouldn't be on display?
Well, I can enjoy the game. I have nothing against the company there, the VIP stand. But it was very pleasant in the old days when my 10-year ticket was located in a solidly partisan area up in the Hogan stand, and one could exchange informations and so on and be a bit more relaxed. I had an experience there the year Princess Grace was here. You remember she was caught during half time, I think, repairing the makeup on her nose or something, and I was a bit sorry for her, because even a person like herself, who is so much used to be in the public eye with good reason, wasn't expecting this, and it's a thing that has got to dawn on all of us that we're in the public eye and liable to be in it at any time.
Are you conscious of that during the game?
For some games, one is not conscious of it. When one is involved oneself, you know.
Has Croke Park a special significance for you since it's named after one of your predecessors?
It does indeed. I do often think of how much it adds to a person when they're aware of, say, the roots, the foundation of something that they're taking part in. Just like a good person about shrubs and flowers is all the better for knowing about the roots. And the roots of the name Croke Park, of course, are here in my house. And the Dr. Croke, who accepted patronage of the GAA, was taking on something which hadn't yet proved itself. And I think primarily because of his appreciation of people and of what was dúchas is my word for it, just what is native, bred in the bone among the people that he knew. In 1884, to accept being patron of the newly founded Gaelic Athletic Association was quite a big thing.
Sinna Will ó Gaelic Report go ceann seachtaina eile. Sport in Action on Thursday night puts the spotlight on the finalists from Kilkenny and Tipperary. And this programme will be back next Monday with a follow-up to the senior match. Godí sin, Slán agus Banach.